A lot of very important people who have influenced and continue to send their reverberation through to this time.
Now, one of the things you faced, Yusuf, is the negativity about Islam, especially in the post 9/11 era, once you'd converted to Islam as well. I guess those early years it wasn't such a problem, but certainly post 2001 it was an issue. And I wonder how hard it's been to get people to understand the positive role of religion and the positive part that Islam plays in peace when there's so much negativity about.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous in a way because, you know, of course, I had a pretty dim view of Islam before I started actually reading about it. So when you just listen to hearsay, you know, it's bound to be distorted. And most people listen to today is hearsay, secondhand, and they haven't really studied the issue. When I read the Quran back in 1976, you know, I was just amazed how beautiful and how uniting this message was, you know, to mankind. All the names of the prophets were there: Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and including this last prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and peace be upon all the prophets. You know, he came with essentially the same message. Now, when people look at Muslims today, they're not looking at the message, they're looking at the people. And once I said, and I think I borrowed it from somebody, that if I'd have seen, if I hadn't discovered Islam before Muslims, I may not be a Muslim. But of course, it was God's will that I'm a Muslim. But therefore, it means don't look at the people, look at the truth. Then you'll find out who's following it.
Well, let me get an email to you that came in from Canada, if I may, here, Yusuf. And it came from Rashid Chowdhury, who says, now that the Europeans have seen that people in the Middle East desire the same things that they do, namely democracy, human rights and dignity, do you think the level of Islamophobia in Europe will fall?
I think some people are gaining a little bit of what you might call political credibility in just speaking out against multiculturalism, because in this pretty bad, dire economic time, you know, then it's a kind of political credence to say such things. But it doesn't really help, you know. And if you really imagine a world without multiculturalism, that looks more like fascism to me, you know. And the whole point here, if you look at it from a human point, we weren't all born on different planets, you know. This is our planet. This is every human being's planet. And if you look at it from the biblical and Quranic point of view, we're all from the same family. So, you know, it's really a matter of, well, politicians aren't, you know, they always tend to be driving up their kind of credibility through these kind of campaigns. And I don't think it's very healthy, because it could be dangerous, especially when a lot of people are, you know, out of work, and you've got immigrants and that facing a lot of discrimination.
Now, it's interesting, you talked about when you read the Quran as in 1976 and found that message of unity. A viewer wrote in, and actually, you know, of course, you were a target a lot of the time after you converted to Islam, and the comments about Salman Rushdie, and, you know, you were saying that, you know, he didn't really, you know, he deserved what might come to him. A viewer wrote in from the United Kingdom on this and touched on something else about the unity message. It says, John Kendall in the UK wrote in saying, although I have been a great admirer of Yusuf, I have found his statements on Salman Rushdie somewhat disturbing. Now, as the recent uprisings reject religion as a solution, does he acknowledge that religion as an organizer and unifier is now a spent force?
Yeah, I think that's the point. And again, I remind you that listening to what people say and what headlines may say may differ greatly from what the truth is. And, you know, and I never actually, in that circumstance, if you look at the whole situation, I never actually supported that particular fatwa. I was simply saying that, in a way, that God's rules for living together are still valid. And if you look at the Ten Commandments, and if, you know, it doesn't take a very clever person or rocket science, you know, to understand that if we all started practicing the Ten Commandments, you know what kind of a world this would be. So I think it's an amazing thing that people, unfortunately, it's headlines, you know, headline news, people are, they're heat-seeking journalists, you know, will always find something to try and blow up. That was a distortion. But the idea of living in peace, I really can't envisage a peaceful world where some people are allowed to just simply revile and make fun of other people's beliefs. I think that there are certain things that we've got to respect, and that in a way is what Islam teaches. You know, unfortunately, some Muslims have got to learn that too.
Now, of course, I know you said, yeah, the message was taken out of context, or what you said about Salman Rushdie was taken out of context. Does it frustrate you that it's so hard to shed negative image once it's been in the media? For example, it was only just last year when you were invited to sing at the Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert rally for, was it a rally to restore sanity and/or fear? In Washington, D.C. Again, that seemed to raise controversy. It must be very frustrating to have to always answer this.
It is, but you know, the great thing was, Riz, is, you know, when I started that song, I mean, the buzz that I felt coming from the crowd of 250,000 people, it was amazing. They didn't want me to stop, so Ozzy Osbourne, of course, he kind of broke up my song. People were pretty angry at that, actually, but the feeling I got from the moment, it was so beautiful, and that's really a message that I continue to send out. I hope people will hear it.
Now, of course, when I spoke with you in April of 2007, you had just released your first album in 28 years, nearly 3 decades, and Other Cup. And I wonder how smooth it was, the transition getting back into the world of music. Because I know at the time, a lot of people were saying, well, wait a minute, why are you recording when you said that, Islam doesn't promote the idea of music? And again, you addressed this in that last conversation. How easy was it to get back into the music industry?
Well, it's kind of easy, you know. We've got people lining up to give me checks to go on tour and all sorts of things. You know, there's lots of opportunities. But the thing is, I still believe in integrity, and I believe that what I'm doing, like for instance, this song, you know, My People. There's no better way to use music than for something meaningful, and for a cause, for something which is an ideal, a human ideal. And we've got lots of those that have gone missing somehow, and we've got to get back to that place. And I think, when I wrote songs, when I wrote songs like Where Do the Children Play, that was an ecological song, it was talking about, let's look after this earth. When I wrote songs about Peace Train, that was again a call to let's get together, let's stop this fighting, these imposed wars, we don't want them. So I was a flower child, and in a way I've never stopped being a flower child, and I believe that Islam maybe blossom a little bit more.
Well, here's another email that came in. Janet Howard in Egypt wrote in with this, saying, there seems to be a wave of songs from our new generations that are finally having their voices heard. How do you feel about music in the Muslim world today?
I think the Muslim world is adjusting to the new age of the reality of the internet and the democratic surge which we're feeling right now, which we're seeing right now, is an amazing thing, and it's a beautiful wind of change which is coming, forcing governments to start to listen and to hear the people, and that's brilliant. And music is just an incredible way and a beautiful way which can harmonize people's hearts and minds, and send out a message. And it is harmless, after all, and I think that's a lovely thing to do, and a lovely thing to be involved in. It's some way in which we can all contribute to this thing.
Now, of course, you wrote My People for the people of Egypt and the Arab world, and of course that just continues that unrest. And I know that you'd also started a charity some time back called Small Kindness, which focuses on orphans. Do you see that charity playing any kind